about boxing? Didn't you box for a while too?
Very briefly, in the Golden Gloves, I ran into a young man, I'll never forget his name, Johnny Bullocks. He was a Mormon from Utah, and we fought in the Golden Gloves in Denver, and that changed my mind about Mormons and boxing. I said, they aren't all pacifists, and I need to find something else to do.
To do. Were you a good boxer or?
Well, I thought I was until I ran into Johnny Bullocks.
And he whooped that ass. Okay. Okay, so in '64 you signed a free agent contract with the Broncos.
That lasted 24 hours.
24 hours?
Yeah, I got cut the next day. See, what had happened was
this was a pattern for your life to come, I see.
Exactly. God kept trying to tell me, John, I don't want you playing football. Not really. I want you can pretend to be a football player. And that paid off. Years later, when I was trying to break into the business, I did a commercial, and the commercial called for me to portray a football player, and that came natural to me, so that worked out all right.
Kansas City Chiefs, tell me about that.
Oh, that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had, because I was playing or attempting to play for who I regard as one of the finest coaches ever to coach the game.
Is that Hank Stram?
The late Hank Stram. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was legendary in every sense of the word.
Yeah, but Hank told you. What did Hank tell you?
Well, Hank told me, he said, John, I don't know what it is you're going to do with your life, but I don't think pro football is going to be in the picture. So before I left camp the second time, because I had signed as a free agent with them twice, the second time I got released from the team, I asked Hank, I said, Coach, I know I'm being cut. Is there any chance at all that you can get me on with another club? And we went to his office, and he made one or two phone calls. There were no takers. So I said, well, there's one thing I'd like to do before I leave the camp. I made a lot of friends here, and I'd like to leave the guys with something, which was a poem that I'd written called The Turk, which is a euphemism for that guy that comes and asks for your playbook and cuts you. Once the Turk comes and knocks on your door, that's the ball game. So I read the poem, and the reaction, what the poem was a recitation of what had happened to me as an aspiring football player. And it didn't, obviously, that part didn't work out. But the team's reaction to the poem was such that they started cheering, and they started chanting, got to keep him, Coach. You got to keep him, Coach. And Coach Stram made it clear. He said, no, we aren't keeping any poets.
Right.
I'm not looking for writers. This is not much
football.
I'm looking for football players. So I got released, but that gave me such confidence that my writing could inspire that type of a reaction from the players. Guys, these were hard-nosed football players, all pros in some cases, legendary athletes. And they were cheering for this poem, cheering because they could relate to this poem. And that gave me the confidence that I could be a writer, a television writer, or whatever opportunities presented themselves. So I pursued that, and in time, after working a myriad of jobs, you name it, and I did it, anything to survive and to feed my family, I got serious about the entertainment industry and became a television writer.
There's a show on television now called Ballers. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, in fact, I did an episode of that with Dwayne, The Rock, and it was wonderful. I played a broken down old football player.
That's just what I was going to ask. Did you ever get a chance to play a football player, play a coach? Okay, I'm gonna have to pull your episode up. I'm lacking because I love that show.
Yeah, it's a good show. And he's wonderful to work with.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I hope that he grows up and be as great a guy as you are, John.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, so moving on, you got cut from 13 teams. I'm just going to throw that in there in case you didn't remember that. It was 13.
It was
13. You got cut from 13.
If you count the Chiefs twice.
You had other odd jobs, too.
You name it, I did it.
Burger joint. Did you work at McDonald's?
When they opened the first McDonald's in Canada, I had just gotten released from the BC Lions. I had gone up to Canada to share my talents across the border. And, of course, I got cut. because they only keep American imports. The rule was you had to keep an American import at least 4 days to give them a chance. And I got cut in 2 days. So that was kind of like the death blow for me. I said, I think I'm through with football after that. But what had happened was I was out of work, no job, and they opened up the first McDonald's in all of Canada, right there in Vancouver, where I was living. And I went and applied and got on as a trainee, and I started cutting French fries, cutting potatoes for the French fries, and washing the windows and that. And while I was in the training process, I think the creative thing came out because I must have had over 35 young men there working. We only had like 12 working positions, but they were overloading to give everybody a chance to learn the McDonald's procedure. Mm-hmm. They're very strict about their procedure. And I had the kids sing these lyrics that I'd made up to the McDonald's about the McDonald's products. West Side Story was a very popular film at the time. Mm-hmm. So I took the music from West Side Story and put the McDonald's products to it. When you're a Mac all the way. From your first 10-cent Coke to your last fish fillet. When you're a Mac, you give all that you got, whether you're bagging fries or picking up the lot, and so on and so forth. So I had a lot of fun with that. So this lady, local from Vancouver, she came by, and she'd never seen a McDonald's before, and here all these kids are dancing and singing. She said, "What is this place?" I said, "This is McDonald's, ma'am. Can I help you?" She said, "Well, what do you do here?" I said, "We make hamburgers." She said, "But I thought you were laughing and singing. I thought this was a show business enterprise." And I said, "Well, it is sort of. But the bottom line is I had a good time, and that was that was really the beginning of my relationship with McDonald's. Now, years later, I'm Mr. McDowell and working for the real McDonald's, you know?
Yeah, oh
so
yeah.
God, that showed me God has a sense of humor, and he has a plan for all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you still eat McDonald's? When the last time you had McDonald's?
It's been quite a while. I'm not quite as fond of them as I used to be. I'll put it that way, because I might want to keep that relationship, you know?
Yeah, right. You never know.